How do our brains actually work? Everything goes from an intellectual process to an emotional process to a physical process. So we first have it intellectually, then we feel it emotionally, then we create it physically. So our brain is essentially an electronic flicking station that sends directions to our molecular structure, aka what we know as our body. So the first thing is we have to have a thought first. We need to think about what we want. So what do you guys want? You want to be an icon agent? You want to be a team leader with 1,000+ agents? You want to have 1,000 rental properties? You want to have a course business? You want to be a stage speaker? You want to write a book? What do you actually want? Think about all the outcomes as far as the business goals that you want to have and figure out what you want. Doesn't matter how you're going to get there. Just know exactly where you want to go. Just like a GPS. When you pull out your phone, do you know the directions you're putting in? No, you're putting the outcome. You just know where you want to go. The rest is going to get filled in along the way. So just know the outcomes. So you need to know where you're at today, where you want to go tomorrow, and follow up with energy on a daily basis. And naturally, the world will get out of the way, introduce you to the right people. They'll come in at the right times. The doors will open at the right way, and you'll get the intuitions along the way, but you need to act on those. So the number one reason I know that people don't have what they want is because they don't actually think about it. You're not thinking about the 6,000 square foot house. You're not visualizing the family of the partners that you want. You're not thinking about the car. It's not an accident that Mike got a Lamborghini and it's purple. He was seeing it in his mind over and over and over, right? So now that we think about it, we need to visualize it. We need to actually define it. It can't just be, I want a mansion and I want a nice sports car. What type of car? What year build? What color? How many rooms? How many square feet? The more defined the picture, the more defined you make this, the easier it is to see in the mind, and the more clear the picture, the faster the manifestation process. Then we're going to physically move towards it, which is how we're going to attract ourselves towards it. So when you think about it, are we attracting things towards us? Are we moving forward in a time horizon towards the direction of those things? Are we moving towards what we focus on? So are we attracting it? Are we moving forward to where we're going as far as the focus position? And when you really think about it, it's the second one. Okay, so here's an example. Think about like the Mona Lisa or famous painting. The thought is I'm going to create a painting, right? I'm going to paint something beautiful. And the second thought is they have to visualize it first, because it can't go on a piece of paper if you can't see it in the mind. Just like a business, you can't build a business unless you can see it build out in your mind first, right? So you actually have to see how it's going to build out. How is it going to grow? Are you going to, build in your local market? Are you going to build in the global market? Are you going to go after team leaders and broker owners or just individual agents? Are you going to use proactive strategies, meaning reaching out to people? Or are you going to use reactive strategies, putting content out there to have people react to you? How are you going to visualize constructing your future? And then we physically act on it, okay? Building an empire. So I wanted to build $100,000 a month residual income. I visualized how many agents who I wanted to work with. So this is where I thought about this, and I've told the story about I was growing here. A lot of EXP took off in Texas and Southern California and Florida. And so I found out that we could build in Canada. And I was like, is this legal? And they said, yes, it is. And once I realized it was legal, I said, let me develop a plan to get into Canada. And that's when I brought Aditya Soma on. Then we got into conversations with Mike. And that's when I started bringing on top leaders from Canada. And now you saw Mike mention just the other day, he's the #1 team leader in Canada. And so now I override that. So I had that as a goal on my wall as well. I forgot to put that in here, that I'll have the biggest team or biggest revenue organization in Canada. And also we have on there that we're going to have the biggest global real estate organization with the most global agents. So I want you guys to start thinking big and putting these in your vision, because when I was doing this, it was very small at the time. It did not seem like it could happen. And now that's happened, I wish I had bigger goals set. And you're going to hear that with everybody that does this. So build a list, make the appointments, make the calls. So how do our brains work? Okay, so we have these different faculties: touch, taste, sound, smell, hear. Okay, this is how we interpret the world around us. So we have our mind and our brain and everything inside us. We have an internal system, but then we have an external world. So what bridges between the internal and external world? Touch, taste, sound, smell, hear is how we connect to the energies. Everything's an energy, but we interpret it through touching something, tasting, hearing it, smelling it, so on. Now, this is very important to understand in sales and conversion and communication and catching attention from others and focus. The stronger the sensory overload, the more vivid the experience, and the more vivid the experience, the stronger the emotional experience. And if people remember how they feel more than what you say, then shouldn't we think about making the experience one which is sensory overloaded? Meaning when you're in a conversation, you're not really trading words back and forth or transferring energy. You're making people feel a certain way. So most people are so concerned on the script and not how they're delivering those words in that script. I think if you're more concerned with the emotion, the tonality, the tempo, the delivery, and not actually what you're saying, you're going to have a higher conversion rate and more of a better communication process. So I give the analogy right here. So think about a baseball game. You can read about it in the newspaper, very low stimulus. You can listen to it over the radio. Now you can hear the voice. You can hear the emotion. He's running home. He's going for home. You can hear it, right? It's a little bit more exciting. You can watch it in television in black and white versus color. So what would you guys choose to watch the television on? Like a baseball game, high def TV, 8K, giant TV, or small black and white TV? We move naturally towards stimulus, right? So we're going to move to the most stimulus things that stimulate us the most. Or we can go to the game in person, hear the crack of the bat, feel the energy of the crowd jumping up and down. So start thinking when you're creating content content or having communication with people, how do you invoke all these different ways that we interpret energy from the external world? And you're going to have a lot better conversion process, and people are going to retain what you're talking about a little bit more. So how are we going to find our vision, and how do we do this ourselves? We do this through asking ourselves questions and reflecting internally on what we want. So our brain is going to be uniquely designed to give us answers when we ask it questions. And if you think about it, do you really ever ask yourself defined questions, or do you just think thoughts and statements? Because I didn't really think about this a lot in my life, but when you get into a habit of asking your own mind a question, your mind is very uniquely designed to give you the answers. So start asking yourself, what do I want out of life? Who am I actually? Who was I? Who do I want to become? If I could do anything, what would I do? If there was no limitations, right? Who do I want to work with? How much money do I need? How much money do I want? Different thing right there. How many agents do I need? What is the best diet to eat to have the most energy? How many times a day should I eat? Should I start a business? What industry? So as you start asking yourself questions, your brain starts giving you the answers. But as you keep thinking about just statements and activities and just what you're doing, you're not going to have creativity. Creativity comes from the internal questioning process that we give ourselves. So start thinking on every day, spending some time when you're in your car or some dead time when you're in the shower, just asking yourself questions about the future. We live in the past, present, the future. The past has already happened. The present's creating the future, and the future is what we think about and design, and we design it by asking questions and thinking about it. And over time, you can ask yourself different questions.